I never thought my family would fall apart like this. For 52 years, I believed I had done everything right as a father. My wife and I worked hard to give our two boys the best life possible. We taught them good values, supported their dreams, and showed them what it means to be there for each other. But now, looking back, I wonder if we missed something important along the way. My sons, Alex 27 and Marcus 24, were close growing up. Sure, they had their ups and downs like any siblings, but they always had each other's backs. Marcus sometimes felt jealous of Alex, especially in school. When Alex made the basketball team, Marcus spent days feeling down because he thought he wasn't good enough. My wife and I explained that he couldn't compare himself to his older brother. It wasn't fair to himself. He seemed to understand. It wasn't always Marcus being jealous of Alex, though. Alex struggled with talking to girls in high school, while Marcus had no trouble at all. He'd come home telling stories about his dates, and Alex would sit quietly, clearly wishing he had his brother's confidence. We talked to Alex, trying to boost his confidence, reminding him that everyone develops at their own pace. Things changed when Alex went to college. He came out of his shell, started going to parties, and finally felt comfortable being himself. That's where he met Emily. She was 2 years younger than him, and he fell hard for her right away. After dating for 2 years, when Alex was 22, he brought her home to meet us. Emily was wonderful, smart, kind, and clearly made Alex happy. Later that night, Alex told me he was sure she was the one. As his father, I advised him to take things slow. They were both young, and I wanted him to be absolutely certain before making any big decisions. During this time, Marcus was at college in another state and hadn't met Emily yet. About a year and a half later, Alex started having problems with Emily. He stopped bringing her over and looked stressed whenever we asked about her. We didn't push him to talk. We figured he'd open up when he was ready. A few months later, they broke up. Alex was devastated. It was his first serious relationship, and it took him over a year to recover. He's dating someone new now, Sarah, and seems happy again. Marcus had several short relationships during this time, but never brought anyone home to meet us. We didn't think much of it. He was young and figuring things out. What we didn't notice was that Alex had started avoiding family gatherings where Marcus would be present. He'd make excuses about work or send us tickets to visit him instead. We assumed he was just busy with his new life. Everything blew up 3 days ago. Marcus came home saying he wanted us to meet his fiancée. We were excited. This was the first time he was bringing someone home. But when he walked in with Emily, my wife and I couldn't speak. Marcus announced they were getting married, claiming Alex knew and was fine with it. I knew my older son well enough to know that wasn't true. When we confronted Marcus about lying, he got angry and accused us of playing favorites. He said we had welcomed Emily with open arms when she was Alex's girlfriend, but now we couldn't even look at her. My wife went upstairs and came back with Marcus's documents, throwing them at him and telling him to never come back. That's when we learned the truth. My wife called Alex, who told us Emily had cheated on him with Marcus. That's why they broke up. At first, Alex didn't know who she had cheated with, just that she had been unfaithful. The relationship fell apart as he struggled with the betrayal. 2 months after their breakup, Emily started dating Marcus openly, and that's when Alex realized his own brother was the one who had betrayed him. The last time Alex and Marcus spoke about this, Alex had asked his brother why he would do something like this. Marcus's only response was, "People do crazy things for love." That was it. No apology, no remorse, just a casual dismissal of betraying his own brother. I asked Alex why he never told us what happened. He said he didn't want us to think less of him, and he felt it was his personal problem to deal with. Hearing how my son had to carry this burden alone for so long broke my heart. I apologized for not noticing something was wrong all these years. Things got more complicated when my Uncle Jim called yesterday. He lives in another state, and while we don't see each other often, we're close. When our kids were born, he and Aunt Linda set up college funds for them. The boys got partial scholarships and used my savings instead, so their funds from Jim were still untouched. On their 21st birthdays, Jim had told both boys they could use this money however they wanted. Now Marcus was planning to use his fund for the wedding. Jim called me, angry that we weren't supporting Marcus's wedding. He'd heard Marcus's side of the story and thought we were being unreasonable parents. I put the phone on mute and asked my wife if we should tell Jim the truth. She said we had to, or everyone would think we were the bad guys. When I explained everything to Jim, how we knew Emily is Alex's girlfriend first, the cheating, and Marcus's betrayal, he didn't believe it at first. He accused us of making up stories to cover our bias. My wife found an old photo from when Emily was Alex's girlfriend and sent it to Jim. After seeing it, he went quiet and said he'd call us back. This morning, my wife got a call from Jim. He'd confronted Marcus and Emily about the truth. Marcus tried lying at first, but Jim saw through it. Jim told Marcus he wouldn't get a penny from the fund. Marcus started crying and begging, reminding Jim that he'd promised the money was his to use as he wanted. He tried to make Jim feel guilty, saying he wasn't a man of his word. This backfired badly. Jim has always been short-tempered, especially now that he's older. He not only refused to give Marcus the wedding money, but said he wouldn't give him the money at all ever. To make things worse, he decided to give Marcus's share to Alex instead. That's when Marcus realized he'd messed up. He started apologizing, saying he spoke in anger, but it was too late. Jim had made up his mind. He called my wife to tell us what happened and thanked us for telling him the truth. He said he would have felt terrible if he'd unknowingly helped fund a wedding built on betrayal. Jim also said he planned to tell the whole family the truth about Marcus and Emily's relationship. My wife worried this might hurt Alex, but Jim had already talked to him. Alex said he was okay with the family knowing the truth. I agreed with Jim's decision to tell everyone. Cheating has always disgusted me, and knowing my own son not only participated in it but did it to his brother made me lose all respect for him. I keep wondering if we failed somewhere in raising Marcus for him to turn out this way. My priority now is supporting Alex. The worst that can happen is people will judge Marcus for what he did, and honestly, he deserves it. His actions are unforgivable. I know this will cause huge family drama, but if Alex is ready to face it, I'll stand by him. Jim sent a message to the whole family explaining everything. He wrote about how he and Aunt Linda had always tried to love all their grandkids equally, how they'd set up funds for each of them, and how shocked he was to learn the truth about Marcus and Emily. He made it clear he wouldn't fund the wedding or attend it. My cousin Rachel called right after getting Jim's message. She wanted to know if it was really true. I told her we had just found out ourselves and were as shocked as everyone else. She was angry at Marcus and said she wouldn't attend the wedding. When I told her we weren't going either, she seemed relieved. She had worried we might try to keep up appearances for the family's sake. 10 days after Jim's message, Marcus showed up at our door crying. He blamed us for ruining his life. Apparently, the message had reached more family members than we expected, and everyone had refused to attend the wedding. There had been a lot of harsh words from relatives, and Emily couldn't handle the pressure. She called off the wedding and stopped answering Marcus's calls and messages. I didn't feel sorry for Marcus as he cried in our living room. I wanted to tell him to leave, but before I could, we learned something else. Emily had been telling her family a completely different story. She claimed her breakup with Alex happened a year earlier than it actually did, and that Alex knew about her relationship with Marcus and was fine with it. When her family learned the truth, they were disgusted. Her parents cut ties with her, and her cousins stopped talking to her. Even her friends, who had known Alex well when they were dating, turned their backs on her. They had believed the breakup was mutual, but now they knew the truth. Marcus still blamed us. He said we had no right to get involved in his life and that we'd ruined everything. Both he and Emily had lost all their friends and family support. I told him he couldn't blame us. He was the one who chose to betray his brother. He tried to say something about true love, but my wife cut him off. She told him he was the only one to blame and that she couldn't believe her son would do something so horrible. When I asked him again why he went after Emily knowing she was Alex's girlfriend, he had no answer. Instead, he accused Alex of holding a grudge too long, saying these things happen in life. I asked if he was sorry for hurting his brother. His only response was to ask if we were sorry for ruining his marriage. That's when I knew there was no getting through to him. I told him this would be the last time he was welcome in our house. Marcus accused us of loving Alex more than him. I explained we weren't choosing Alex, we were choosing what was right. Just because he couldn't see how wrong his actions were didn't make them right. He glared at us and left, blocking our numbers afterward. A month has passed since the wedding was called off. Emily and Marcus broke up, and she actually tried to get back together with Alex. She called him to apologize and ask for another chance. Alex blocked her number and warned us she might try to visit. Thankfully, she hasn't. Marcus still believes he did nothing wrong. He isn't talking to anyone, or rather, no one is talking to him. We don't know where he is, which worries me as his father, but I know I can't reach out to him. He needs to understand what he did wrong first. This is how things are now, and I guess this is how they'll stay. I never imagined my family would go through something like this, but here we are. All I can do is stand by what I know is right, even if it means losing a son in the process. Sometimes being a parent means making the hardest choices, and this is definitely the hardest one I've ever had to make. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with friends or family who might enjoy it too. Your support means a lot. And if you have any thoughts, questions, or story ideas, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next story.